Some monsters don't hide in the woods. They live on your street, smile at your kids, and run a business. Robert BerDella was one of them. This is the story of a man who turned his home into a torture chamber, documented his crimes in disturbing detail, and managed to keep it all hidden for years. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. What you are about to hear is not for the faint heart. One pleasant day in Kansas City in 1988, a man wearing nothing but a dog collar jumped from a second story window and ran to a meter man nearby and told him that he had been abducted, tortured, assaulted, and went through hell from the hands of a man named Robert BerDella. The man contacted the police, and upon investigating, they uncovered a nightmare. In his house, they found human skull, vertebrae, and an envelope filled with human teeth. This isn't even the worst part. They found 344 Polaroid pictures of his victims, frightened, suffering, alive, and dead, clicked throughout their captivity. Then back in the room, they found a collection of audio tapes, notebook full of scribbled notes, written in shorthand. The notes were describing what he had done to a victim and whether or not there was a reaction. If the reaction was verbal, he noted the exact word. There were syringes, drugs, needles, tranquilizers, and electric devices used to torture his victims. Now, let's talk about the monster, Robert BerDella. Born on January 31st, 1949 in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, grew up in a deeply religious Roman Catholic family. He was a loner, often bullied at school, and physically and mentally assaulted by his own father for not being manly enough, for not being as athletic as his younger brother. By the time he was a teenager, he realized that he was gay. In one interview, he shared he had been impacted by the film released in 1965, The Collector. The film inspired him and gave way to his feeling of the need to control and dominate another human being. The movie is based on a novel by John Fowles, which tells the story of a stalker who kidnaps a young woman and held her captive in his bedroom until she dies. After graduating from high school in 1967, BerDella enrolled at the Kansas City Art Institute in Missouri, where he got caught up in drug scene quickly. In one of the art pieces, he tortured, killed, and cooked a duck, due to which he received backlash from the administration. He left the institute and moved into a house in the Hyde Park neighborhood, got a job as a chef, and sold antiques on the side due to his passion for art pieces. He was a quiet neighbor, polite, friendly, and clean-cut. His home became a boarding house for young men who were lost in their life, which included drug addicts and sex workers. Now, to understand his sick mentality, we have to talk about his victims and the kind of torture he had put them through. So viewer discretion is strongly advised here because we are going to go very deep. His first victim was a 19-year-old young man, Jerry Howell, with whom BerDella was engaged in a sexual relationship for a while. BerDella stated he refused to pay him back the money he paid for his lawyer. Jerry was a drug addict and often got in trouble with law. On June 4th, in the pretense of going to the club, BerDella picked him up and fed the young man a variety of tranquilizers. When he passed out, he took him home, bound him to the bed, and sodomized him repeatedly using carrot and cucumber. BerDella would leave for work in the day and return in the evening to continue assaulting him. To keep Howell subdued, he injected him with various drugs and beat him with a metal rod. He died that evening around 10 p.m. BerDella wasn't expecting that. His planning was to make him a long-term sex slave and held him captive for as long as possible and experiment on him. He figured that Howell must have accidentally aspirated his own vomit, triggered by drugs, and must have choked. Next, BerDella hung his lifeless body upside down in the basement and, with multiple stabs, drained his blood out, preparing for dismemberment. He took lots of photographs because it excites him. With the help of kitchen knife and chainsaw, he cut his body into small pieces. He then wrapped them up in several layers of plastic and set them out on the curb to be picked up with the trash. No one noticed a thing. His second victim, Robert Sheldon, came looking for a place to stay on April 10, 1985. That was the last time he was seen alive. BerDella held him captive and did the same thing to him as he had done to Howell. But this time, it only got more horrific, with him injecting Sheldon's left eye with Drano to blind him permanently. He did more damages to his hands with various tools and filled his ear with caulk before suffocating him with the plastic bag on April 14. While BerDella cut him up in the bathtub and put the pieces out with trash, he kept the head in a freezer for a few days and then buried it in his backyard. His next two victims also went through the same hell and same amount of unimaginable pain in their last moment: Mark Wallace and Walter Ferris. His fourth victim, Toots Stoop, had stayed at BerDella's house several times before, but in June 1986, he came for the last time. Just like before, he captivated him and treated him like nothing less than a toy. For him, he wasn't a human, but just an object to be experimented on. BerDella injected him with a drain cleaner in his eyes and in his voice box to prevent him from screaming. With Toots too, he went as far as shoving his entire fist into his rectum, leading to rupture and heavy bleeding. He developed a fever due to an infection, and his health deteriorated. To subside the infection, BerDella injected him with various animal antibiotics and continued assaulting him. He eventually died on July 1st. He cut his body and kept it in a basement for nearly a week before disposing it off. The last one to die at his hands was Larry Pearson, a male prostitute whom BerDella knew from before. He captivated Larry around end of June. He stated Larry was more cooperative than others, which is why he did not have to use as much discipline on him. Pearson went through this hell and inexplicable pain for 6 weeks, but apparently he decided enough was enough and bit his penis. Frustrated, angered, BerDella bludgeoned him with a tree limb to subdue him, but he died. This head he also kept and put into the freezer. On March 29, 1988, BerDella abducted his final victim, Christopher Bryson, a 22-year-old male prostitute he had known earlier. He gained BerDella's trust by cooperating and doing things his way. BerDella also thought he had complete control over him. He thought he had submitted to him completely, which is why he let his guard down. And as a reward for his behavior, his good behavior, or let's say his cooperation, he left him a cigar to smoke. And with the help of a matchstick that he had left on the side table, Bryson was able to burn the rope with which he was bound. And without wasting any moment, he decided to jump straight out of the window, in fear that he might be somewhere around in another room. He ran to a nearby meterman and told him everything. There were also rumors that BerDella was involved in a devil worship and sacrifice, because police not only found skull and teeth and photographs, they also found a satanic book, a book on black magic, on devil. But in an interview, he completely denied the accusation. On 19 December, BerDella pleaded guilty to 4 second-degree murder and 1 first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But he died of a heart attack on October 8, 1992, less than 4 years into his sentence, at the age of 43. I mean, imagine the irony. His 4 years of crime and he only served 4 years in jail. All the pain, unimaginable pain that he had put his victim through. He hadn't suffered even 10%, no, even 5% of those torture and pain. BerDella insisted that reporters had him all wrong. He was human. He was a good person, despite all those terrible acts. To prove this, he set up a fund for the families of his victim, worth $50,000 by selling his assets. I mean, look at the audacity to call himself a human, that too a good human, a good person. Despite putting his victims through hell, despite treating them like inhuman, like a toy, like an object to be experimented on. He literally admitted to all of this in one of his interviews. I will share a short clip of his interview at the end of this video. But he literally said himself that for him they were just an object, a toy to be experimented on to satisfy his dark fantasies, his sexual desires. He had no empathy for them. He felt no remorse and no regret at all. So please be aware of the people around you, because as I said in the beginning, some monsters don't hide in the woods. They live on your street, smile at your kids, smile at you. They are polite, they are quiet, a perfect human being, and they run a business. But behind all those smile and politeness, they hide a monster, a devil that you would never know. And by the time you know, it will be too late. If you have made it to the end, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am a newbie here and I have a lot to learn. But if you liked any part of this video, any part, editing, narration, voice, the story, then please like, subscribe and comment on this video and help my channel grow. And you're most welcome to leave your thought on the story and a feedback on my video also. It would help me a lot. And I will be coming with a lot of interesting stories in the coming week. So make sure not to miss it. Bye bye.
The media has so biased my case, portraying me as being non-human, and their motivation is no separate from the way I treated my victims. I treated them as something less than human. It's nothing more than a play toy or a play object. This is what the media has done to me. It's dehumanized me so that it can believe, along with the public, that things like human sacrifice, Satanism, demonic practices,